Good morning. Today is Sunday, May 26th, 2019. This is my first vlog. Obviously, I've got no experience with this sort of media, even how to record, how to set things up, and how to actually transmit some sort of a message to anyone in this video. So, my name is Whit, and I've had to endure a few comments in that regard. But I actually got that name back in high school in 1956 when I first came from the United States with a name called Whithold. So it's not surprising that the people around me who never experienced foreigners as such, because this was the middle of the heartland, Green Valley, Illinois. The biggest city was Peoria, Illinois, and that's been the butt of jokes, for decades, and all kinds of things. So yeah, my presentation is probably a bit on the halting side, but I'm going to power through this and figure out just how to put a message into a video in order to sort of leave a legacy of who I am, what I had to say, and not that I really think it's all that important, or that I have any kind of importance, but I do have children and grandchildren, and perhaps they and their progeny may want to reach back and see, who was this guy that started my particular line as far back as we can, because in a way I'm kind of sad and sorry about the fact that I didn't do more questioning and talking to my parents, and the bits and pieces that I know about them is simply whatever has embedded or collected into my memory, which at my 80 years of age at this point in time is perhaps not the most reliable record. We do have photos of my grandparents, at least some of them, the Schlesners, which were my mother's parents, not so much. And I don't believe that there are any surviving photos of my dad's father. My father, my dad, lost his father when he was about 12 or 13 or so, and he died. And I don't know how well they diagnosed things back then, but I guess it was some sort of a stomach problem, perhaps even stomach cancer. So, but he had produced with his wife Emilia 5 children, and as I grew up, of course, I talked to my father a lot about, tell me about this, tell me about that, and they had some picture albums I go through, and so I think I learned a lot about the family history, and some of which I may be talking about now, but since this is a totally impromptu segment of video, and totally unrehearsed, unpracticed. I don't even have any notes, so I'm just basically talking. And so I may digress, and however, the stream of consciousness leads me. I may, so you're going to hear something about this. Well, maybe what I ought to start with is, where I'm doing this. This is Huntington Beach, California, and I'm actually in the bedroom that I currently occupy. My wife Marge and I decided that it's a lot easier to sleep in different beds, different bedrooms, because we have so much different sensibilities when it comes to how we sleep. For instance, Marge prefers to sleep with the television on, lights on, things like that. I can't handle that too much. Although sometimes, I have the television on for, it's actually, let's say, YouTube, because I'm interested in one particular channel or some sort of a subject, and a lot of times something really obtuse or obscure, because I'm obsessed with cosmology and the science of the day and so forth. So I may put on a science channel for on a timer for 30 minutes, and then I'm gone, and all the lights are off and so on. So that's how I need to sleep, and that's how I get my best sleeps. And everybody has to do their own thing. So as I said, I'm filming this in this segment in my bedroom, and I'm learning, hopefully, how to do this, and how to look, and where to how to sit. So just kind of look at my background. I've got a picture of George Bush, who sent me this signed photograph when I turned 65. Love Jimi Hendrix. And of course, a picture of my family. I don't know whether you can see that or not. And then a really interesting kind of photograph of the Graf Zeppelin, the Hindenburg. And I'm not sure it was a Hindenburg, but it was Graf Zeppelin. And they advertised, the journey from Hamburg to Rio de Janeiro in 3 days. Now think about that. That was like in the 20s and 30s. That had to have been huge. You'll also see in the background a picture, actually a laser cut of a Hellcat with my Hellcat key in its teeth. That's a spare key to the Hellcat that Marge bought me. This is in itself an interesting little tidbit, so I'm just going to digress for the moment. Last year, we bought 2 brand new supercars. One for Patrick, who is that's called a Dodge Challenger Shaker. And, it's a very powerful car, well over 500 horsepower, and it's the Dodge Challenger. It hasn't changed all that much, so it looks like a little bit like the old Challenger. It's got that vibe, of a 60s, 70s kind of muscle car. And then she bought me a 2018 Charger Hellcat. And it's an octane red, and it's just one hell of a car. It has 707 horsepower in the SRT mode, and then it has an economy mode that as it reduces the horsepower, curbs it to about 500 some horsepower, which is still amazing, for pushing a 2-ton vehicle around city streets. Anyway, so this has been the joy, and Patrick's challenger is Go Man Go. So we've got these bright colored brand new cars, which by now they're a year old. So it's interesting, and it's been really fun. What's interesting about these cars is in the city, the gas mileage is really horrific. Well, very, very, very bad. For instance, my Hellcat, 11, 12 miles to the gallon, which some decades ago, was actually kind of normal. Just about every SUV got a 12, 13 miles to the gallon. I had a Lincoln that got 13 miles to the gallon no matter what. And gasoline was not all that expensive. I know it probably still took a chunk out of our income for to drive, but we didn't feel like gasoline at approximately somewhere around $1 a gallon was all that ridiculous. Now it's more like getting close to $5 a gallon. It's well over $4 a gallon. But the kicker is that on the highway in long trips, amazingly, we get well over 20 miles to the gallon. I'm not sure exactly what Patrick gets, but I know that I average when I drive to Washington State, I average 25 miles to the gallon easily, just loafing along at 75, 80 miles an hour. So I don't know exactly how they do that, putting such a powerful supercharged engine into a four-door car and achieve this kind of efficiency. So gasoline engines, or the internal combustion engine, cannot be dismissed easily, which looks like it's going to be usurped by battery and battery-powered electric cars, and perhaps some others, like fuel cell, and maybe there's some other types of propulsion on the way. So those are our new vehicles, and they certainly give us a lot of joy. I know that every time I get into that Hellcat, and the sound, of a muscle car. And Patrick told me the other day, well, last year sometime, he said, as we were testing the Hellcat mode or the SRT mode and the econo mode, he says that what you have here is kind of what the what was sung in the 60s, of muscle cars, like the lady from Pasadena. What was she driving? Well, she was driving a red hot super stock Dodge, and that's what it is. So remarkably, these cars, the Challenger and the Hellcat, they have the performance of the Ferrari and the Italian and German, Porsche and so forth. They equal that performance, some of them, in some cases even better, for about $1 million less money. So this is it's quite an engineering achievement by our people in Detroit or wherever they designed the thing. I think both of our cars were built in Canada, actually. And we were fortunate enough to order the car custom the way we wanted it. And so we think that it'll give us a lot of joy for a lot of time. So I'm going to run this video approximately 15 minutes because I'm not so sure that anybody can actually stand me babbling away for a longer period of time. So I have to say that this may be fun. I'm going to do that again, and except not speak in such general and disjointed terms, perhaps, a little more focused and actually transmit something of value. So thank you very much. Farewell.